Hello, my fellow Alaskans. Boy, what a night has this been. Two different debates. First, we had President Trump against ex-Vice President Joe Biden. And then we went in directly into Congressman Don Young and Alyse Galvin running for Congress. Excuse me, yes. Uh, I better turn the volume down on this thing here. Let's just wait a few seconds here for people to be able to join on in. There we go. Now I see some people popping on right at the moment. Glad to see you all joining us here tonight. I just wanted to do a little bit of debate coverage, just like I had done the last time the president had done a debate. And since we had the Congressman Don Young and Alyse Galvin tonight, I wanted to cover a little bit about what they had to discuss. Very, very telling, especially when it came to the final questions between the congressman and Ms. Galvin there, and what they had to say and their decisions on, especially on the ballot measure number 1. They were definitely both a no on that one. But when it came to ballot measure to number 2, Alyse Galvin was a yes for ranked choice voting. She knows that that is the only way that she would ever be able to get elected in the state of Alaska. And God help us all if she does make it. Her answers today definitely showed that she is going to align with the far left Democrat Party that is down there in D.C. Many of the questions that was answered today, Congressman Don Young, I'll admit, if I had a better candidate out there that had made it through the primaries, like, say, John Nelson or someone like that, I'd be voting for them. But since we didn't have a better person make it through the primaries and we are stuck with these two, I will be voting for Congressman Don Young again this year. Alyse Galvin does not understand what it means to be the one sole voice down there in D.C. in the House of Representatives. 435 people are in the House of Representatives in D.C., and she is only one voice for Alaska. With all these big, lofty dreams, I'm going to change everything here in Alaska. Sending me down there, that's how I'll make it happen. Reality is she has no power, no control. There is nothing that she's going to be able to do that has any clout when she gets down there other than to align herself with the far left party down there and vote for everything that they say they are willing to do. She openly admitted it. It doesn't matter. She'll vote for that even if it gives illegal aliens more of the money that we are supposed to get, voter rights, CARES Act money, you name it, anything that helps supply them. She says that she's all for the Second Amendment, but she has openly admitted that she is all about gun control and has stated that, like our rifles, our AR-15s, those will not be off to take away. You can't be for the Second Amendment and want those kind of things. Her idea of gun reform is restricting it and making it harder for law-abiding citizens to be able to get guns. Nothing to do with the actual criminal element that is getting a hold of them. Oh, thank you again for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and share. Facebook has done a pretty good job of shutting down my feeds here recently. They have restricted my reach to people out there. I could get 50 shares on a post and it'll only reach approximately 2,000 people, where 50 shares pre-primaries would have reached somewhere closer to around 10,000 people. This happens every election season, and it's very unfortunate to find that our voices just don't matter when it comes to trying to get things out there and across, especially when we're in such an important election cycle like we are in this year. A couple more things between Congressman Don Young and Alyse Galvin. They both, she makes it sound like she's definitely for Alaskans. She's got a definite silky, smooth speech style this year that isn't as extreme as it was 2 years ago. Much more polished. She's getting a lot better at it. But she acts and sounds exactly like she's running for a seat here in going to Juneau. Like she's running for a seat out Juneau that for the policies she seems to be able to get passed. Most of her platform is based upon Alaska. And that's not a bad thing when we look at going to Congress, but when you're looking at Alaskan issues that our Alaska legislators are supposed to be dealing with and taking care of, it's kind of confusing when you say you're going to go down to D.C. and push those same kind of agendas that our legislators here are in control of, not them down in D.C. It's a really conflicting messages going on there. But that's exactly the way things go when it comes to Alyse Galvin. She did do one of the Democrat barbs there about, wait, it's my turn to talk. Don't push it, you know. Kind of like when she did last year when they shook hands and she turned around and goes, ow, 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 ow. You know, anything to do a smear job to make it look that little socialist Trump card, liberal Trump card, whatever you want to call it, that wants to make the other side look bad. I'm a woman, you're a man. Treat me with kids' gloves. It doesn't work that way in politics. It's supposed to be gender neutral, party neutral. You do not address it with the abilities that you have to be able to run for the office that you're going for. That is not the message that I heard coming from her. Again, if I had a better choice to choose other than Congressman Don Young, if John Nelson had made it through this year, I'd be voting for him. But since he didn't, I will be voting for Congressman Don Young. Alyse Galvin definitely does not have my vote again. The money that she is getting came all from the Democrat Party's Act Blue. She is supported Black Lives Matters and Antifa. She has posted out there where these people can get themselves bailed out of jail after rioting, looting, and burning down our cities and the violence that's going on out there. She solely and completely supports that type of things going on in our nation right now. I personally cannot vote for somebody that is willing to support that kind of anarchy in our nation. Enough about Congressman Don Young and Alyse Galvin. The fun debate for me was watching Joe Biden and President Trump go at it today. That was really bringing up the corruption in the Hunter family and all the money that he has gotten from Russia, Ukraine, and China, and how Joe Biden keeps trying to claim that he knows nothing about it, but here's the pictures, here's the videos, here's you saying this and that, claiming that you don't fire that attorney, that lawyer out. My son and his holdings that he has within Verissimo. I will take that $1 billion away from you, and you got 6 hours to do it. President Trump said he started the slam Biden about the different little things out there, and Biden goes, show me the proof. And President Trump says, okay, I'll post it for you here as soon as this is over with. Well, within minutes after the debate was over with, if you go to President Trump's Facebook page right now, you will find those videos posted on there. It is hilarious to watch those kind of things happen when you ever needed to see. A lot of telling different little things out there about that. I want to mention, while I got people online right now, donate. Go to my website, Politadick.com, and click that donate button. Every penny I get goes right back into the content that I am producing right now. I've had quite a few good donors here recently that have started, that are contributing money. I've got people that are contributing on a monthly basis now, and every little bit helps. It keeps it so that I can continue to keep bringing my content to you and afford the gas money to get there. One good example is we've got a big Freedom for a Patriot on this weekend. Starts at the Lusac Library. It's going to be a rolling rally going from the Lusac Library. It will be going through Eagle River, Palmer, back into going into Wasilla and ending up at the Harley Davidson shop. My memory serves me right, I think it starts at 11 o'clock. I posted it not too far back. It's maybe 5 posts into my feed. And you'll be able to find the rally that is going on. It's another rolling rally. Chili feed that's going to be at the end of it. Dress warmly. Make sure you got gloves, hat, the stuff that'll keep you warm while you're out there. Don't want you to get cold. And drive safely. Bring all your Trump paraphernalia with you, your flags, your American flags, your Alaskan flags. Show your Alaskan spirit, Alaskans for Trump. This is also a rally for Alaskans, for our lawmaking legislators that we're trying to get voted into office this year. Just like in the primaries, we had done a good job of eliminating the binding caucus rhinos out there that had sold away our voices and votes to be in the binding caucus, have stolen our PFDs for the last 5 years. 7 of those people are now gone permanently, and we're trying to make sure that the ones that made it through the primary get into Juneau this year, so your vote does matter. They're doing their utmost to smear those candidates. Good example will be Nelson in Anchorage, who beat out LeDukes. They are going after him tooth and nail right now, trying to smear him and make it seem as, because he's a younger person, that he's just not qualified to do the job. Yet the candidate that's on the Democrat side that's running for the party has already openly admitted that they'll sign into the illegal binding caucus, sell out your voice, sell out your vote. No difference than what LeDukes had done when she had made it into office. And we'll be sitting right back in the same mess that we were in before this election season even got started, when they get back into Juneau in January. We got a breakdown here, and I'm going to flip pages here on my phone because I did a copy job of different comments that were made here earlier today. And we got the coronavirus was one of the first things that was debated in President Trump versus Biden. And one of the things I want to point out is they keep talking about the testing. Excuse me. Oh, okay. The coronavirus. We see a big, huge spike in test and the cases of reported coronavirus keeps on growing. That's because they're doing phenomenal amount of testing. I mean, every time we turn around, we here in Alaska are hearing about this test site, that test site. Go here to go get tested. We just had the YK Delta that just came up with 79 new cases. Legislators that are running in that particular area right now, I know that Willie Keppel is running out there. He is now in a little village. He is not allowed to leave. It's one of those villages that doesn't have good Wi-Fi. If it did, he would be trying to do a live show right now to let Alaskans know what is going on in that area. His competitor, though, is sitting in the heart of Bethel, and or if I'm hearing the rumors correctly, actually isn't even out there right now. They're sitting at Anchorage, probably enjoying a drink at a bar right at this moment. From equalization that is being thrown out there and saying they're going to strip that away. Well, I'll get into it in another video here within this week coming up for the elections that covers more on that. But more back onto the virus and the coronavirus. They're doing a phenomenal amount of testing out there. So, of course, we're going to have a phenomenal rate of growth of how many people have this coronavirus. But what they're not emphasizing out there is the hospitals are not being overflowed. They're no longer being overrun like they were at the beginning of this virus. We're not seeing an increase when it comes to those that are on the respirators. The biggest concern that they have out there is they're not going to have enough medical staff to be able to take the influx of people that are being tested that they think are more critical that need to be inside of the hospital. They have done so many advances towards battling the virus itself that hospital stays are very relatively low. In other words, you're not staying there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, things like that. You're in and out. No different than what we're seeing with President Trump. You're there long enough for them to say, oh, you are stable enough to go back home. Bottom line, if you are an at-risk person, you are in the right age group, please stay protected. Make sure your friends and family out there are making sure that they are keeping you safe, that they're out there wearing their masks, that they're making sure they're not going to pass the coronavirus on to you. Smartest people out there, before they go and see their grandparents and take their kids with them, they're taking showers, they're changing clothes, they're putting on brand new masks. They're doing their hand sanitizing. They're doing the same thing for the grandkids before they go and going on visits. The best way to be keeping those that are at risk safe. As for the rest of the people that are not in the at-risk category, God dang it. Get out there and start living your lives. Go to work. Be a productive member of society. Demand that our schools get opened back up. Our students are suffering out there. The suicide rate in our state is astronomical right now. We are seeing roughly a 26 to a 50% increase in the amount of people that are committing suicide this year in our state. This virus is causing a lot more deaths out there in other categories than what we've actually lost with the virus itself. And it's just a statistic that they do not want to talk about. So back on to the Biden and Trump debate. Let me see. In the beginning, they wanted to talk about, Joe wanted to make a point that back in January, President Trump knew all about this virus and how dangerous it was. Ironically enough, when President Trump was shutting down the ban in place coming from China, Biden was sitting there trying to tell everybody that President Trump was xenophobic. How dare he do this? Shutting down travel coming from all these places. He is stupid. There's no reason for this. This is all during the middle of their speech. Our president, Nancy Pelosi, going into Chinatown and saying, look at how these wonderful people are. There's nothing to worry about. Get on out here. This is the time frame that they're now trying to use in their campaign, saying President Trump knew how dangerous this was. This is around the same time that the WHO was telling us all that this was not an airborne risk out there. Don't worry. There's not going to be a high transmission rate. That when we're getting all this false information, this is the same time that China themselves had kicked out all of the CDC and all the investigators trying to get into Wuhan to find out more about this virus, and they were refusing to let them in to be able to get better details, a better understanding about what was going to be attacking our nation and where we stand at now. They want us to all forget that kind of history. It's all President Trump's fault. Joe Biden was caught in so many lies today. Debate, it was just astronomical. President Trump, compared to the first debate, did phenomenal this time, allowing Joe Biden to hang himself over and over and over again, consistently and constantly lying throughout the entire thing, contradicting himself in more than one way. One of the things I want to throw out there is if you have not realized that the Democrat Party refuses, they brought up racism again, racist wordage or verbiage, trying to once again get President Trump on the fence about that. Joe Biden brought up the Proud Boys one more time. Yet it's ironic that if you go and type Antifa, and I got to break this apart so I don't break Facebook policies that I have out there, and add a .com on it, it takes you directly to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's campaign page to make a donation to them. So, and they've got Act Blue, and they've got Black Lives Matter, and Black Lives Matter, anytime you make a donation to them, if you check really closely, this is going to Act Blue. They've got these big, huge super PACs that are throwing in all of this money out there. The same folks that are supporting Alyse Galvin, and the same ones that are also supporting Al Gross here in our state. This is where their money is coming from. They claim that they're not Democrats, but they're using the Democrat platform. They use the Democrat registry for being able to contact people, and they are attacking the independents out there because thanks to our Supreme Court a few years ago, the Democrat Party and the independents are virtually the same folks. There is no distinction between the two because the Supreme Court of Alaska declared that the Democrats can use their platform to run on, campaign on, and collect donations from. Once a Democrat, always a Democrat. Even though you label yourself an independent, there is no difference. When you lean that far to the left, that is not an independent. An independent would have more views like mine. I'm an undeclared, so it makes a big difference in that aspect right there. Now, let me see. We got Most of the stuff that Joe Biden had done and said today against President Trump has been debunked. If you watch the entire hour and a half debate between the two, he's constantly bringing up these different words and verbiages, and he doesn't want to look at the entire picture. President Trump denounced them all. He told them to stop what they're doing. I do not support you. How many times has he got to say it over the last 4 years before it finally sinks into their heads? And the truth is the truth, not the fiction that they need to keep spinning out there that he doesn't denounce them. He has denounced them over and over and over again. One of the things I had questioned out there is I want to hear how no experienced hunter gets all his money from foreign countries after visiting with Joe there to their foreign countries. How come he is photographed with the same people he claims doesn't know? How are the emails and underage pictures from his son's laptop being faked and multi-millions being paid to his family using the office to fire that lawyer that was investigating the corruption that was going on in Ukraine? This is where that video I said that Trump told Biden that he was going to post onto his page just so that he had the proof that he was denying this was ever happened. Well, here's the proof. It's now posted on his page again. Biden says it's been investigated to death. It's been completely investigated. That's a falsehood. That's completely false. It has never been investigated. In fact, as a matter of record, there is an investigation now going on. And to the matter of record, that hard drive that is sitting out there, the FBI has had it in their possession for almost a year. It is a part of their investigation towards the corruption scandal that they are uncovering. Got to remember, Hunter Biden and his associates that he was doing business with, those associates are now sitting in jail. The only reason why Hunter Biden is not in jail is because daddy is daddy. That is the only reason why he's not in jail. But we had someone that came out just before the debate. He did a video. He's a part of the Hunter's corruption. He wanted to express that his company was used and manipulated and never saw a dime. He brought out 3 cell phones as evidence with all the different records that are kept on those cell phones. These are all being turned over to the FBI. I truly hope something happens to forward this case moving forward. I hope it doesn't turn into another Hillary Clinton bleach blit, hammers taken to the phones, destroying them. Excuse me, man. Accidentally saying that we've deleted the cell phones by accident. We no longer have those messages on those phones like they've done during the President Trump investigation, trying to uncover all the information that's going on there. You know, like Peter Storks and all those folks whose cell phones were deleted accidentally, right? You know, accidentally. How many phones do you have? I'll tell you what, I've got enough phones. I don't have a single one that's been deleted. In fact, I'll my own computer system, so if I ever needed to, I could take my last 10 years worth of cell phones and reload all their records right back into another cell phone. That's how those things work. So the excuses they keep giving us is just fabricated. It's just a cover-up job. Now, Joe Biden was trying to claim that the job growth that had been going on for the first 3 years of President Trump's office and tenure that he's been in office was all his and Obama's doing. He was just riding the coattails off of what they had accomplished. When you get that kind of job growth, you get that kind of businesses that you need a magic wand to make those businesses come back, Obama said. And all of that happens, but this is all Biden and Obama's work that made this happen. It was, like I said, this phenomenal debate between the two, especially if you're into politics like I am and you pay attention to the details of all the things that our president has accomplished. I love our president. I don't exactly love the things he says. That is one of the reasons why I like our president. It has more to do with the policies and what he's accomplished for our nation, not what of his Twitter fingers. Same way I kind of feel about Don Young versus Alyse Galvin. I not necessarily like what comes out of Don Young's mouth, but I like what he's able to accomplish while he's down there in D.C. And until they have someone that's suitable to replace him, he has my vote. Just like President Trump, he has my vote. When he came down that escalator 5.5 years ago, 5 years ago, I said this is going to be the best show in entertainment and television to be able to watch that Hollywood didn't produce. He has yet to let me down. It has been the best entertainment. I never would have got into politics if it wasn't for them. It wasn't for him. Let me see. Joe Biden was trying to bring up North Korea and how dangerous they are and their nuclear, and Iran and their nuclear program. Well, let me bring up a couple points that he wanted to avoid. ISIS, the JV team, is what Obama always called them. There's no way to stop them. President Trump did that in 1 year, completely annihilated ISIS. ISIS is no longer a topic of conversation. When was the last time you heard that name actually thrown out there for you to be able to hear? It has been years. They don't want to admit President Trump has done a very good job when it comes to foreign policy. He has made it so that the different organizations out there that in our world organizations that are supposed to be working together are actually starting to contribute the money that they're supposed to contribute. The United States is no longer footing that bill. He has done an amazing job in that aspect. He has gotten us out of more conflicts throughout the world than what Obama and Biden did in their 8 years. He has gotten us out of more conflicts around the world than what Biden has accomplished in his 47 years sitting down there in D.C. Peace in the Middle East, unheard of. We're watching all these different nations joining together under one umbrella for the first time ever. Hopefully one day we'll even be able to get out of Afghanistan. There are peace talks going on there. When was the last time you heard of a missile being flown towards Japan out of North Korea? They want to name Joe Biden was trying to name all these different places that Trump has failed. But if you actually look at what's going on around the world, he's gotten us out of more conflicts. He's brought more of our men and women back home to the United States than any other president has in decades. It is an amazing thing to see. He has not gotten us into a single war in the last 4 years. Yet, if you remember when he was going to go take office, they kept saying he's going to be the next World War III is going to start because of President Trump. Hasn't happened. I don't see it happen if he makes another 4 more years. In fact, I see him removing us from more and more conflicts out there. He may even be able to bring peace with North Korea. Iran is under so many different sanctions right now. They are being decimated economically. Russia is under so many restrictions right now. They are being decimated economically. If it wasn't for Russia and the Middle East out there doing their price gouging with oil, we wouldn't be in the economic crisis that we have with the oil prices that we see right at the moment. Good thing America is no longer reliant on foreign oil. We are now independent. We got to keep it that way. That also means Alaska needs to develop up our oil fields out there. We need to be able to get into ANWR. And that's why I am a no on ballot measure 1. It's going to decimate the oil companies up here. It's going to take the big 3, and they're not going to want to be reinvesting money back into our depleting oil fields that are established out there. They're going to want to take that money and stop their development because there's not enough profit in it to be able to do it. Everybody out there keeps saying, well, why would I vote no on one? Well, let's put it into perspective. Let's pretend this is your paycheck. Over the last 15 years, I'm going to change the taxes you pay that comes out of your paycheck. This year, you're going to pay this much in taxes. Next year, I'm going to increase it. The year after that, I'm going to decrease it. The year after that, I'm going to increase it. They did this 10 times over the last 15 years. What kind of a future can you plan for? Where are you going to be able to invest your money? You got to worry every single time. Your paycheck's going to be that much less because you no longer have any money. If you look at what, we'll take just ConocoPhillips, and they break down the King Economics had given was the top big 3, and they made $10 billion last year that was brought in through the door. $9 billion taxes, and keeping the company up and operating. That left them $1 billion left over. That's only 10% of all the money that they had produced from those oil fields. That $1 billion is now their seed money to pay all of their investors, their paychecks, the people that had invested in this oil company to be out there producing, and money to reinvest into brand new places like Anwar. If we are to take our fair share, that they call it, how would you feel if this was your paycheck and you go out there and you make $10 billion worth of sales every year, but to keep $1 billion of that, and now we want to take another 70% of that money away from you? That's what ballot measure 1 is proposing to do from the 3 big oil companies out there, is to cut their production, the amount of money that they get, down to roughly about 30% of what they already take home right now. If I was them, I would be doing my utmost to start thinking about downsizing, closing up shop, and moving to other places that you could actually make money off of developing up oil fields like Texas or other places like that. I would not be investing in Alaska anymore, which is and happens to be the exact goal of the Democrats down in D.C., those in California, Nancy Pelosi and her crew. They want Alaska to be a playground for them. That's why they attack our mines. That's the reason why they attack our oil fields. That's why they go after Pebble Mine on a daily basis. But ignore on. That mining industry doesn't get attacked. Why? Because it's owned by Alaska Natives on Alaska Native lands, where the Alaska Natives own 100% of the royalties and rights to all the minerals that are underneath the land that they own. They're not under the constant lawsuits that are being placed by the environmentalists. They are not being attacked by all those people down in D.C. They are not restricted like we are trying to develop up a new field that is state-owned or state and federal-owned. Big difference. I'm sure you heard about that road that you can see going up the mountain up near J Bear there that has been cut. The trail is what they call it. It's a 60-foot wide trail, very evident up there on the mountain right now. You can see it zigzagging all the way up there. Maybe we need to, for like Anwar or King Cove, we need to no longer call it a trail. A road. We just need to call it a trail. If they're allowed to decimate the landscape like that by calling it a trail, we should just be able to make a trail going into King Cove, so we have that life-saving road that covers that 10 miles instead of having to worry about trying to medicate back somebody. Little things like that. Different little things like that. All right, let me go into another one here. We've got... they were talking about Medicaid and Medicare, and I'm going to go more into Medicaid because that is Obamacare, and the cost of that right there. If you look at where it stands at, Joe Biden is all about eliminating our personal private insurances. I know pre-Obamacare, I spent about $3,000 a year for my health care. They gave me my medical, my dental, and my eyes. I could afford it. It was affordable for me. I paid my co-deductible up until a certain point. I reached their limit, and then they paid 100% of it. Now I pay $10,000 a year for that same kind of insurance. Honestly, I cannot afford it. I really wish I could, but I can't. So I just pay for my medical visits straight up. Even that is at most times not as affordable as I wish that it could be, especially when I have me and my child to be paying for. If Obama or Biden gets his way, the Obama Cares Act, the ACA, our personal will be ripped away and we'll all be under socialized medicine. So there's 180 million people out there that will be put on socialized medicine. Not the way to go. Man, oh man, I'm just got the driest throat. This place, I hate winter. It's one of the things. I've got a wood burn in here. It just dries all the moisture out of there, makes it really, really rough. I should have grabbed a full soda before all this started. All right. Kamala Harris, when she was doing the Amy Barrett, when they were talking for the Supreme Court there, Kamala Harris brought up health care and how she's going to be ruling on a case that'll be happening here just after the elections for the ACA. What they're going to be ruling on is the mandate that said that we had to pay to not be in the ACA. The ruling that President Trump was able to get rid of, it basically made it so that we actually got to keep the money that we got, and we're not paying for other people's health care for something that we can't afford to have for ourselves, like where I'm at right now. She was all asking her, well, how in the world can 135 million people, if you get in there and 5 million people will no longer have insurance? Well, every time you hear a Democrat say all of these people will no longer have insurance, they're talking about everybody that has private insurance, because their end goal is to put us all on socialized medicine and completely eliminate any private health care. Can you imagine that, especially if you work for a company that you pay for your health care out there, that makes it affordable? Well, kind of affordable. All right, let's see. What else do we got going on here? Biden's platforms talked about legal immigration. Okay, let's say you legally immigrated to the United States. You're able to sign this document that brings your relatives into the United States. Joe Biden wants to open that up completely. First year or two after he is to take office, that would be 50 million people immigrating into the United States. We can't even afford the ones that we have here now because most of them live on welfare. Imagine what it would take if they automatically bring in 50 million more people that have no job skills. We can't even employ the people that live here in the United States already with the highest unemployment levels that we've ever seen, especially because of this virus right at the moment. Man, I got to get rid of that. So we look at the costs. We look at what it's bringing in there. And he brought up the illegal immigrants crossing over at the Mexican border, and they started talking and debating about the illegal immigration that is coming across and those poor children that are being separated at the border from their parents. First off, if you, whoever's watching right now, was arrested, your child would not be allowed to go to jail with you. When you illegally cross the border, you are breaking the laws, you are being arrested, you are going to be separated from your child. That is our American laws. Now, Joe Biden was bringing up, once again, those cages, the ones that were started in 2014 under the Obama administration, and the pictures that they always continuously try to keep showing, saying this was Trump, when it was really Biden that was Obama and Biden that was locking these kids and people up in cages like that. Those policies aren't happening. This is all fake and fictitious. He's upset because President Trump stopped the catch and release, that just caught them and released them directly into the United States. Now we catch them, we release them directly back into Mexico, into different locations where they have to sit and wait to go through the immigration process. If you are illegally trying to come into the United States, your chances, if you get caught, is slim to none. Smart people are going through the border crossings and applying right then and there, getting their little certificates, so to speak, and then they go back and they sit and wait for their court date. That's the only way you're going to be able to get in the United States. Joe Biden wants to change that. He wants to make it go right back to the catch and release. We catch you at the border. We just release you in the United States, give you this court date that's 2 years down the road, and hopefully we get to see you come back. We don't care if you killed somebody. We don't care if you raped somebody. We don't care if you're a coyote that is smuggling in these children, pretending to be their parent just so that you can get across the border. He wants to let them all come into the United States. If we want to know why we've got such a bad MS-13 problem, this is the reason why that is happening. Those were the policies that were allowing them to continuously flow into our country. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Uh, oops, not supposed to hit that button. Affordable health care. I want to go into the CARES Act. They talked about needing to pass the CARES Act that Nancy Pelosi and them have put out there. You know, the $2.5 trillion more to be able to go. That the majority of that's going to go into New York and California. That money is to bail out failed Democrat cities that have completely failed to be able to fund their own programs that they put into place. Just like we've seen here in Alaska with Mayor Dictator Ethan Berkowitz. Thank God he's resigning tomorrow. Find out we've got even someone even more dictatorish than he is that's now taking his position that is further to the left than the mayor was. It's only going to get worse until election season starts. I hope they get someone to be able to vote in January. If not, we've got to wait till April. It's unknown named amount of destruction that's going to happen within Anchorage during this period of time. But CARES Act money, $156 million went into the CARES Act money. Roughly $60 million of that went directly into the special interest projects, like buying homeless shelters, 4 different buildings, $22.5 million. Another $6 million going into a park walkway, the walking bridge that would employ 12 people. They've got plans to build bathrooms, outdoor bathrooms for the homeless. The list is endless, but the bottom line to it is they've roughly got $60 million of that $154 million that went into nothing but special interest projects that the mayor has been trying to pass for the last 6 years and get funding for, that it keeps being rejected because the citizens of Alaska and Anchorage refuse to let him do it. Using his emergency powers and the COVID CARES Act money illegally, he has been able to fund every socialist dream that he's ever could think of. Now, roughly, there's been around $15 million that actually went out to the small businesses. Another $10 million that went into rental assistance and stuff like that. So if you take it all combined together, you got about $30 million of that $156 million that actually went to the citizens of Anchorage who are desperately in need of that money. Unfortunately, it is just a drop in the bucket when you're talking about, here's this company that's getting a $3 million loan, CARES Act money. They're getting the big bulk goes to these small little companies that really need it, are not seeing enough money to actually survive. That's the reason why places like the Perfect Cup have gone out of business. Roughly 35% of the businesses in Anchorage have closed their doors, will not be reopening up when the new year starts. That money did not get used. They hid a whole bunch of money into what they call their slush fund hidden bank account that they'll pull out on a rainy day. That's where an additional $6 million that went to the small businesses. But did it really? If you look at the fine print of where all this money I'm talking about when I say they put $30 million aside really went to, it's small businesses, nonprofits. It went to the Performing Arts Center. It went into the arts industry. Oh, if you paint us a painting, we'll give you money for it, so that we can help you starving artists out there be able to survive. This is not what that money was meant for, and we're looking at an economy that's being destroyed just because they want more CARES Act money. What President Trump has proposed, what they have proposed in the Senate through the Republican Party for CARES Act money, was directly targeted towards helping us out, redoing the unemployment, the benefits, but not at the level that they had it at. If there's a job opening, that job should be able to pay you more than what you would get to be able to sit on your ass at home doing absolutely nothing. That's the intent. That was the kind of help that should have been out there in the first place. Not, here's more money than you could ever make working at a regular. Now that you're making more money than you could at a regular job, you can go out there and protest in the streets every single day. Hint, hint, hint. Go out there and protest in the streets every day. Anyways, moving on. Green New Deal. Biden's plan says by 2035 that we should be eliminating all fossil fuels, getting rid of the CARES Act, getting rid of fracking, and getting rid of any new oil production, completely stopping that, more wind turbines, more solar energy. We see how well that's working out in California right now. They're constant and consistent blackouts that they go through where they have to turn off all the power because their green energy can't supply enough power to the community, especially during the peak heat of the summer season when they have their air conditionings on. They find all of a sudden that their electricity is turned off because they don't got enough stored up, and it costs them too much to refire back up the power plants that would have been able to give us sustainable energy. But if they keep those things up and running all the time and got away from the green energy, they'd watch their cost of energy get cut in half compared to what the green energy is now currently costing them. And you wouldn't have your electricity being turned off during these rolling blackouts. Enough money left over to start deforesting their forests out there, cleaning up all the underbrush and everything else is fueling these record-breaking fires that is causing climate change that actually causes more smog and pollution and everything else than what we humans put out on a record level far and beyond. We saw this here last year, not the forest fires that we had here in the state of Alaska. Last year's fire season put out more carbon pollution into our state than we Alaskans produced over the last 10 years. Yet the fireplace you have at your home, you're going to receive a fine for if you're putting carbon emissions when they bring their little sniffers around. You in Fairbanks know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, let me go back to the actual feed here and see if there's any quick questions I can answer. Only 2 people on right now. I'm sorry, I know I started this pretty late and to cover it, and I love Don Young too. He's been great for our economy and our country for the last all the years that he's been in office. And I really do hope the next 2 years are good ones for him, and that someone like John Nelson, who Don Young said that if John Nelson wins, he is willing to go to D.C. with him and mentor him down there in D.C., work side by side with them, kind of as an aide would be a good way to describe it, and teach them the ins and outs of being down in D.C. And that would be a big boon for Alaska to be able to take a freshman congressperson down there, a freshman representative to sit into the House and teach them the ins and outs, who you can trust, who you can't trust, who to talk to. Here's who's in this particular area that works really well to get these kind of problems resolved. Here's who you go to get these other problems resolved. Not just go down there and be thrown to the wolves and have to rely upon people like AOC and Nancy Pelosi and those kind of folks being your mentors. That's what Alyse Galvin would be walking into if she was to get down there. And she thinks that she's going to have the clout as one representative for the state of Alaska to make all these wishful thinking dreams of hers come true. The agenda of the far left down there right now is to turn Alaska into a playground. It's not going to happen. All right, I'm going to wrap this video up right here. President Trump, Joe Biden. President Trump won this debate hands down. There is no second guessing it. This was nothing like the first debate. President Trump definitely won this debate blindfolded. Joe Biden did nothing but lie throughout the entire thing. Please go through, watch the video. If you're politics like I am, you'll be able to pick out every time he lied, and he did it consistently. He tried to cover up for his son, Hunter Biden, and the corruption going on there. There may not be no proof that there is pay to play on Joe Biden's part, But you have to ask yourself, on a congressman's salary, and then as a president's salary, how could he own all of these multi-million-dollar properties? How could he be living the lavish lifestyle that he has on $200,000 a year? Just don't see it happening. It's not a book deal. He made $10 million off of his book deal. $5 million of that went back into the publishers and everybody else. And then, of course, you got to pay your taxes on that. So $250,000 roughly, because he is a California type Democrat. You got to watch and see where that kind of money goes and where it's getting paid back out to. And it definitely does not go into your pocketbook. You got to be getting that multi-million dollars to be able to cover those kind of things. When you're being handed a home, or as they came out with earlier today in other emails, here's $5 million to Hunter Biden. 10% of that is to be put away for the big guy. Who is the big guy? It doesn't necessarily mean the money got passed directly into his hands, but it does mean that came from to be able to pay for all this. I cannot trust a politician out there that cannot openly say without a shadow of a doubt they are not corrupt. If this was one of President Trump's kids that had this kind of a scandal being exposed with evidence, like we are seeing with the Biden family right now, President Trump never would have been our president. He would have been we would have been living with Hillary Clinton the last 4 years. But they never had that kind of evidence. That was all anonymous sources. This is not anonymous sources. You would have saw that in the video I posted earlier today with the one person that owned this one company that was doing business with Hunter. That $10 million transaction where $5 million of it got directly deposited into Hunter Biden's. And that money went directly over to Hunter Biden's family. $4.8 million of it got transferred over. That never went where it was supposed to. That's the reason why the guy came with 3 cell phones to say, hey, I see the corruption going on here. I see the scandals. I'm going to back away from this as fast as I can because I had nothing to do with it. But here's all the evidence you need on these 3 different cell phones that I have right here on top of the hard drive and the laptop that you guys already got. Last thing here, go to my website, Politadick.com, Politadick.com. Click that donate button. Every penny goes right back into what I produce, the content that I get, the equipment that I am currently buying. It will cover the gas money for the rally that's coming up this Saturday so that I can live stream the entire rolling event starting in Anchorage all the way out to Wasilla. Every little bit helps, whether it's $5, $10, $50. Become a monthly subscriber and, donate every single month. Every penny goes right back into Politadick. I do not spend it on myself. That's why I have a full-time job and I work for a living. That pays my bills. What I get from you as donation goes directly right back into Politadick and helping me grow my platform larger and larger so that I can expose the corruption going on in our state of Alaska and try to keep you up to date. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Love you, Alaska!